incredible stories of crime, intrigue, and unexpected twists. Narrated by Zoe, today we delve into the bold and audacious tale of Frank Bourassa. So there's this guy named Frank, and Frank is about to make $250 million. He lives in Quebec, where he owns a small factory that makes brake pads, but Frank is tired of the daily grind. One day, he sells his business and decides there must be an easier way to make money. That's when he comes up with an audacious plan. Why not make money himself? Literally. So Frank starts researching how to print counterfeit bills. He chooses the US dollar because it has a strong exchange rate and is widely used around the world. For the next year and a half, Frank studies everything he can about the US dollar. He even goes to government websites to learn the specifics, like the type of paper and security features used in the bills. Using a fake email address, Frank contacts paper mills across Europe, searching for the special paper required. Finally, he finds a paper mill in Germany willing to provide the paper based on a fabricated story. Once the order is complete, it'll be enough to print $250 million in US dollars. But Frank doesn't plan to spend this fake money himself. That would be too risky. Instead, he decides to sell the counterfeit bills at 30% of their face value, allowing him to make about $80 million. He sets up a print shop on the outskirts of town, complete with all the necessary equipment and software. When the special paper arrives, Frank gets to work, printing as fast as he can to avoid getting caught with evidence. After 5 months of work, he's finished. Frank now has $250 million in counterfeit 20 bills. Next, he needs buyers. Frank lines up 4 potential buyers outside the US and begins moving his counterfeit cash, $1 million at a time. For the next few years, he continues selling, and at this point, he's already moved $50 million worth of fake bills. He still has $200 million left to sell. Frank decides to expand his market by finding new buyers. Unfortunately for him, this new group includes an undercover agent. One day, while Frank is driving to meet a middleman to deliver $100,000 in counterfeit cash, he has no idea a police helicopter is following him from above, hoping to catch him in the act. A few days later, Frank is staying at his girlfriend's house when at 5 a.m. there's a knock at the door. It's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, along with U.S. Secret Service officers. They arrest Frank and search the house and his car, where they find a printing press and $949,000 in counterfeit money. Frank is thrown in jail, awaiting his trial. He assumes the Canadian legal system will be lenient, but the U.S. Secret Service makes it clear that they want to extradite him, where he could face up to 60 years in prison. This gives Frank a serious wake-up call. Luckily for him, he has a skilled lawyer. His lawyer argues that when the police helicopter was surveilling him on the way to the buyer's house, they never caught Frank on camera handing over the counterfeit money. Therefore, the search warrant used to raid his girlfriend's house was invalid. The court agrees, suspending Frank's extradition to the U.S. 6 weeks later, Frank is released while the Canadian police gather more evidence against him. But his day in court is inevitable. On the day of his trial, Frank is incredibly nervous. Even though he avoided extradition to the U.S., Canadian prosecutors are still determined to put him behind bars. As Frank walks into court, he confides in his lawyer that there are still $200 million worth of counterfeit bills hidden away that the police never found. Together, they decide to use this as leverage. Frank offers to reveal the location of the fake money in exchange for a lighter sentence. After negotiations, Frank reaches a deal with the prosecution. In exchange for revealing the location of the $200 million in counterfeit bills, he will be set free. Frank leads the authorities to the hidden cash, which was stashed in the back of a box truck parked in a hotel parking lot. The police seize the money, and Frank is released. After printing $250 million in counterfeit bills, Frank ends up serving only 6 weeks in jail. Shout out to Quebec for serving justice. This was another captivating true crime story brought to you by Talescape. Stay tuned for more remarkable stories. Make sure you subscribe for daily crime stories.